Happy Tuesday, it's the best day. So we're dealing here, I'm so sorry, I just put a burrito in, I just finished burrito and I have terrible burrito breath, so apologize.
It's not terrible, it's just...
It's pungent.
It's just noticeable.
It's noticeable.
Yeah, it's like you walked in and like the burrito opened the door for you and then you walked in and the burrito shut the door.
We're on a date.
Yes.
It's not good. Hello everyone, this is Al Jackson, I'm Tori Shulman, this is called Break Room, and we're here to give you a great morning start to your morning.
That was weird.
That was weird. Allow myself to introduce myself. We have a top story. Guess who's running towards the presidency?
Me?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders. Mr. 2020.
Mr. 2020, it says he has announced he is running for president. His campaign slogan, do you know what it is?
Not me.
Let me be the change that you want to see.
Okay, no, that's close. It's called Not Me, Us.
Oh.
A lot of snickering.
Or U.S.
Yeah.
Or U.S.
There's no extra period.
See, I hear something different in that slogan. I hear somebody snitching in the principal's office.
Not me.
And they're like, hey, who spray painted the
true.
gym? And you're
That's
like, not
true.
me, it was us. Tori was there. Alex was there.
That's hilarious.
Shuby told me to.
He made the announcement this morning on CBS this morning. He says, quote, the bottom line is the average middle-class family will save money, will spend less money on healthcare, will have more choice and have broader coverage than is currently the case. And he says on President Trump, it is absolutely imperative that Donald Trump be defeated because I think it's unacceptable and un-American, to be frank with you, that we have a president who is a, quote, pathological liar. And it gives me no pleasure to say that, but it's true. So what do you think about him running? He's 77. Are we too old? And also, Trump is 72, just to give you guys a little guide.
Right. Well, it's interesting that 72 is like the young, spry guy.
I know.
I've always said this with our elections. Again, this is a completely nonpartisan comment. I just don't understand why we get people towards the end, towards the latter third of their life. I mean,
yeah.
In your 70s, I mean, we all, some people are sharp as a tack at 95. Some people don't know where they are, and that's not an insult to them. It's just kind of dumb luck. It's the way that your brain is wired sometimes, and that's a lot of pressure to put on somebody, especially when we've already had a president where it's rumored and pretty much fact that Ronald Reagan was really struggling his second, especially his second half of his second term. So these are decisions that we all need to think about. I mean, I wouldn't mind having a guy in his late 50s there.
Well, remember, Kennedy was such a fresh of air, of course, fresh breath of fresh air. He was the youngest president. I think he was 42, wow. A really young senator, but it gave a sense of hope and rejuvenation. And then Bobby Kennedy was really young. Jackie was having babies. So there is that sense. I do think, though, that people see wisdom in elderly people, and there's a sense of, like, presidentialness in those type of people. I think we should look at Biden. Biden is the same age as Bernie, but he does look younger because Bernie often, I feel like Bernie was born a 75-year-old man. Right. You know what I mean? And no disrespect. He's just like one of those guys. And in D.C., just so you know, when you say, did he walk the walk? He literally would walk to the Senate. He would walk to the subway and stand, give up his seat for people, sit middle class. He's one of those guys that has so much humility. But man, is the Democratic Party starting to spread out with our primaries, we're starting to look like a clown car.
What do you think? Do you think this is a good thing that we're just going to be able to pick a good candidate from this bunch? If you're a Republican, is it better for you to have more candidates? Like, what are you thinking if you're a Republican?
Here's my only thing. Well, it feels very much like the 2015 Republican primaries. Remember? Ted Cruz, Marco Rubio. It was like 17 people, and then we all ended up with Trump. And I think a lot of people were surprised by that. So far, the Democrats don't have a Trump yet, but what worries me is we have all these great people, and I think the strongest will come out on top, and then all of a sudden, Avenatti steps in, or the Trump steps in, right, and takes all the attention, or Kanye. I mean, I'm not being serious, but I kind of am. That happened with Trump. Nobody thought he would win out of those 17, and everybody focused on him. So I'm a little concerned that all these great people are going, and then at the last minute, someone with pizzazz and like star power will step forward, and we'll all be distracted. So I'm hoping we stay very stable with that. Bin31 says Bernie is refreshingly authentic. He's been doing the same talk about all of these healthcare things for years in the Senate. He is known as a lion of the Senate. Not only that, he presided over gay marriages before anyone even thought about allowing gay marriages. He presided in Vermont over transsexuals getting married, over drag queens getting married. He is really a guy that all the cool Cory Bookers and Kamala Harris, they are actually coming from a lot of what Bernie started in his early career. So he's like the OG. Does that make sense? So very interesting to see. Interesting to see. What is this? During Yellow Vest. Oh, I see. So we want to know what you guys think, if you're for it, if you're against it. And also if you think that this is going to, can he do the same thing in 2020 as he did before? There was so much excitement. So much. Can you hit lightning twice?
Right.
You know? It's hard to get that momentum
his
again.
His supporters were so passionate about it. I think that they're still there. You know, and he didn't go away. He's still been on, you know.
I know, but
visible.
Can you get that same momentum over a guy 4 years later? I worry. That's my worry. Yeah. In other news, we want to do an RIP to Karl Lagerfeld. Do you know who that is?
I do.
Wow.
Fashion
Jackson.
My dad had his see, I just knew him not as a fashion icon, which is crazy to say, but I knew him as somebody that made fragrances because my dad that used to have Lagerfeld in the house, and I knew that was the very special
grown up, fancy.
Yes. So I still remember what it smells like. So just that name like rang out in my house.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you guys don't know, he was the head of Chanel for a very long time, but a very famous fashion designer, notoriously kind of quiet and mean, but in real life very funny and witty. He wore those cut off black leather gloves. He had that white shock of hair with the ponytail, kind of like Thomas Jefferson.
Wow.
He wore the glasses and the black leather and the white, and he always said sweatpants means you've given up. And I'm currently wearing sweatpants underneath my dress.
I will disagree with that.
I totally, tell me more.
Sweatpants are very functional pants. And I think that there are different points in your life where you just need to throw some clothes on. And if you're a person that doesn't want to wear your clothes out, if I have to run to Target, I don't want to put on my slacks because you're going to wear them out.
Slacks?
I'm wearing jeans. I feel like sweatpants, I'm at Target, it relaxes me.
It's also freezing
it's like
in the morning.
Wearing a blanket.
And I don't want to be like, here, let me put on this tight constricting clothes.
Yeah.
I want to put on like a feeling, if my sweatpants could be a song, it'd be, Kumbaya, my lord, Kumbaya. Thank you.
And also, I'll say this, what's wrong with giving up on the day?
Yeah.
Go to sleep, tomorrow there's another one.
Well, my problem is I gave up on days consecutively, called depression. Good times. But I do remember wearing sweatpants to my first therapist, and this was in college when I was going through the worst of it. I've been open about this before. And she said she knew I was starting to feel better when I would come not in my sweatpants. And I was like, yeah, that is interesting. You kind of try.
When you get home.
I know. Like, what are you putting on? A burqa? Like, what are we doing?
It's just comfortable. It's kind of.
If you're a sweatpant person, please let us know. Also, sweatpants means you're living life, says XOOX. Woohoo! Ouch. Okay. So let us know your favorite Chanel look. My favorite Chanel look, of course, is the hula hoop bag. I don't know if you guys know that.
No.
It was the Chanel bag, but made out of a hula hoop.
Yeah.
Huge. So she had a big circle. It was a nice shape. It was really, really iconic and cool. We want to get to the fifth host because it's a good one.
Yes.
Do social platforms have a responsibility to take down false information, guys? So trending right now is a new study on The Guardian that blames YouTube for the rise in flat earthers. If you know what flat earthers are, Al will tell you.
There are people that think that the earth is flat.
That's right.
There are people that really think that.
Like really. And they're all around the globe. Ironically, pun intended. Researchers interviewed people who attended the world's largest gathering in North Carolina and in Colorado, right here, of flat earthers. And there's a pattern here. They said they came to be convinced that the earth was not a large round rock spinning through space, but instead a flat disc doing much the same thing. They said they were changed by watching YouTube videos promoting the conspiracy theory. So is this up to YouTube? I love this question, to make sure that their information is correct.
I love the internet, but it's just done so much damage because what it's done is it's united people that don't know what they're talking about and giving them a voice. You can't just say things. We have these things called facts. What do they say? You're entitled to your own opinions. You're not entitled to your own facts. if you thought the Earth was flat, then you don't understand the concept of things like density and weight and how those things relate to gravity, which is why the fact that we're not spinning off into the universe and we're spinning around the sun. Do they believe we're spinning around the sun at least?
They do. They do believe that. Yes, they do.
So we're just a flat cracker in everything. Do they think every planet's flat?
No, they think we are flatbread, almost like a focaccia, but really flat, and it's still doing the same thing, but that it's not an orb. It's not an orb. It's a disc. Okay. It's almost like a CD.
But then how would sunlight, how would the sun rise?
The crazy thing is a lot of these people in this study said they went to YouTube to figure out why the Earth isn't flat, and they were convinced that the Earth is flat. So that's pretty wild that these videos are convincing people the other way.
However, freedom of speech says you can believe any dang thing you want. You can believe I'm an alien. 3, 2.
Yeah, I guess so. You know,
why should you have to be told? Exactly.
Guys, you know what? You guys beat the scientists. You figured it out by 8 clicks on YouTube.
Yes.
Not hundreds of years of studying the stars.
Not a Brown University degree.
Yeah, you guys got it.
I do want to talk to you guys about Twitter because CEO Jack Dorsey. I wanted to know if you guys know this.
I've been listening to some interviews with him.
I'm very interested. I want us to pay attention to this guy. They asked him on Twitter to give a rating of Twitter, and what do you think he gave Twitter? This is the guy who came up with Twitter. Should I say Twitter one more time?
A rating out of what?
A grade, a letter grade. Excuse me.
I would say he gave it a B-.
Jack said, myself, C. We've made progress, but it has been scattered and not enough. Changing the experience hasn't been meaningful enough, and we put the burden on the victims of abuse. That's a huge fail. He says, by doing so, we have to look how the product works and where abuse happens. Replies, mentions, searches, trends. Those are shared spaces people take advantage of. So even the head of Twitter sees that this was way sort of bigger than I think he knew. But does that make it wrong? For instance, are we not allowed to have those conversations? So pretend there's no Twitter or YouTube, and Al and I are like, the Earth is a focaccia bread. Is that illegal just because we're talking about it, right? Isn't YouTube just speech but on a computer?
You can make the argument that YouTube can be used to galvanize large groups of people into acting in a poor way. The internet has it's brought us together in great ways and in bad ways. And I think that I think when he created Twitter initially was fun. I don't know if you guys remember when Twitter first came out. It was like a place for jokes and
quick
memes
writings,
and things like that. And then
it was fun.
And now it's like you go onto Twitter and it's like you walked into an argument.
Yes.
Like you just came.
Mommy and Daddy are fighting and you just walked on in.
It's just these weird attacks and it's just there's threats of violence and racism and misogyny and the whole gambit.
Threats and stuff.
Yeah. So I don't know if he. Because I'm assuming Mr. Dorsey isn't like that, I don't think that you assume that that's going to be a thing. But like when you create a thing like YouTube or Twitter or Facebook, unknowingly, you're going to start opening yourselves up to things like Cambridge Analytica and things like
Very
that,
true.
which is responsible for Brexit as well as what happened in this country.
I mean, and then you think about threats. Roger Stone today put up a picture of his judge, a woman, with a crosshair around her face. And then had to take it down because the judge is like, I'll put you straight up in jail. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll take it down. But these have become weaponized in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And I want to know if you guys think it's their responsibility, Mark Zuckerberg, Jack Dorsey, that guy who owns YouTube, if it's their responsibility. John says, what's that? A lady? Really? Well, now I'm into it. John says, definitely not. It's up to you to do your own research and not be so gullible. Ask why more. Become more curious. I don't care what other people think. Be willing to learn. It's not YouTube's fault for the false information.
I agree with that. And John, let me tell you this, man. I appreciate you writing in as always. I think that these people think that they are learning. I think that they think that they're finding out something that no one else, everybody else doesn't have privy to. So they're learning, but what they're learning is false information. So they're going around thinking that they're really doing their due diligence. Look,
9/11 was an inside job.
This, and
that's what people think.
Yes.
I wanted to ask you what this. This is XOOX being really open. I'm a conspiracy theorist. I believe in the Mandela effect. I believe in the Mandela effect and that Tupac is still alive, LOL. I do think people like Alex Jones go way too far, though. Yeah, and that crosses a line. That totally crosses a line. People need to read scientific articles instead of just watching videos because they're flashy and you don't really have to use your brain like you would reading. I agree, Leah. Oh, Leah wrote us in. Oh, yeah, here. Oh, Geekly Gods, definitely not. It's
Geekly
up
Goods.
to... Oh, yeah, I always say gods. I love it. Geekly Goods. Definitely not. It's up to you to do your research and not be so gullible. Ask why. Oh, that was Leo. That was a great point. That was my favorite point so far. Yeah, is it up to us? Now, what if we find out Russia infiltrated, which we already know, part of Facebook? now we're crossing into sort of like, it's not just a platform, there's an invasion from a foreign country.
Right.
So that to me is like where the line gets crossed, I guess.
Well, I mean, it's a line that can be crossed because it's a line that's there to be crossed. And
right.
What I mean by that is Russia did its due diligence and figured out the best way to break a country apart at the seams, and they went right after it, whether it was gun laws, Black Lives Matter, gay marriage, the kneeling thing. All of these things, they figured out what you guys care about because they did analytics. They did analytics, and they found out what you bought your wife for her birthday. Do you do fantasy football? What's your median income? What kind of boots that you wear? And then they figured out who you are, and they figured how to market to you, and they figured out how to market clothes to you, and they also figured out how to market divisiveness to you. And things started popping up on your feed that probably aren't on my feed. Things that are on my feed aren't on Tori's feed.
Very true. And your feed is a curated version of your brain.
Right, and so they just keep selling you like, hey, you know, they're taking your guns. Here come the liberals coming to take your guns, and the liberals are getting you know, they're doing this. They're trying to take away this. They're trying to allow assault weapons in schools. And so everybody's getting all this information. A lot of it is not true. Trust me, as somebody that went through this, when I had an incident on the show and the people from InfoWars were coming at me, I realized that most of those people are bots. I was getting the same message in the same all caps, we got it, but from with different avatars. But they figured out a way to kind of speak in a broken English kind of way, but they're just computers. And there's a lot of people saying that they think they did a lot of research and polling, and they realized that a lot of the people that weighed in on the kneeling Colin Kaepernick thing
were bots.
Yeah, it was all bots. If you argue with somebody on the internet about Colin Kaepernick's, there's probably an 80% chance that it was bots. You know, and I've spoken with friends of mine.
It's a loud
that
voice.
I know were arguing with bots.
100%.
Or agreeing with them.
Or agreeing with them, which is 100%. I do want to say that Madison Anderson says, I'm going to make a new theory called the Munchkin Theory regarding the Van Allen radiation belt, donut-shaped radiation belt around the Earth. Earth is, in fact, not flat. We are a Dunkin' Donut Munchkin. It's actually true. She's actually correct about that kind of shape of that. Unfortunately, it's YouTube's algorithm. People love conspiracy theories, and YouTube will push the more watched material all the way to the top. It's especially huge after Shane Dawson's CEC conspiracy theory. So it's true because what happens, I watch one video and I'm eating Cheetos off my chest because I'm bored and lonely in my sweatpants that Karl Lagerfeld does not want me wearing. And the next video says something else because it's like other videos you might like to see.
That's so
and it's ba-boom, 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 ba-boom.
Because
and it's just
I'm going to pull my YouTube up right now, Tori, and it's interesting. I watch, obviously, just because I want to get both sides, I watch a lot of conservative speakers. I listen to Ben Shapiro and I always want to hear what the other side is. And so I get like a lot of alt things like Adam Carolla. I guess he could be considered that. I get people like Adam Carolla comes up a lot of mine because he's a conservative. And I do like to hear what conservatives talk about when they're on, Bill Maher. But yeah, and it's because I look at these things. So when I get up in the morning, that's at the top of my YouTube feed.
Right.
Whereas I guarantee you, somebody like Jeff Schroeder, who watches a lot of motivational videos, those are probably the first 5. Like, what videos do you have in your YouTube?
They're probably like how to get famous. No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, I just, Greg Gutfeld, Fox News. See, guys, I'm both sides.
Look at that.
I actually met Greg. He was a nice guy.
So my question is this. They say in one New York Times, one issue, is more information than an American got within one whole year of like 1911. So there's so much information, too. Discerning it is getting harder and harder. So is it up to, okay, so yeah, mine's all about therapy.
Interesting. Matter of fact, do me a favor. Tell us the first 5 videos that come up on your YouTube, because it's
Merkel hammering
Trump.
Trump.
That's more of who you are than
it's a curated version of what's in here. I always say that. That's exactly right.
And Outcast ATL Aliens came up too.
That's weird. So, yes, absolutely. Kimberly says people need to read. Sorry about that. I was reading the same thing about that. I also wonder if these conspiracy theory videos and things were started to be shared by people making fun of them, but then they got traction because some of these people believe it instead of laughing. I don't know. Some of these people are really deeply ingrained in this
I have a theory on conspiracy people.
So you have a theory on theorists?
I do.
Okay.
My theory is this. Life ain't working out so great. It's not. And so there's a narcissism to saying, well, the reason I'm not excelling is because there's all these things happening. there's a government that's doing something that I can't see, that's nefarious, that's keeping me down.
Oh, you mean it's an excuse because you're not excelling?
It's an excuse for why you aren't excelling. I don't think anybody that's killing it in their theory, in their field, no matter what it is, not financially, but just you're happy, you come home to a spouse that you care about, you're working on projects outside of work that have you excited. I don't know if those people have enough time to go home and figure out that the 9/11 passengers all had recorded phone calls that they simultaneously gave in the air. You know, all these kind of ridiculous things. When you have a lot of free time, when things aren't going so great, that gives you time to say, hey, maybe all these scientists are wrong and the Earth is flat.
But what about Isaac Newton? He had a lot of time and he came up with gravity.
He did. He came up, and that
what
still.
About the CIA conspiracy theory?
Is that the Denver?
Yeah.
I think that's real.
I'm into that one, and I'm happy.
Yeah, Kelly was just bringing up an idea of there are a lot of people think that Denver airport is actually underneath it is a whole lot of tunnels and bunkers for in case there is a nuclear attack. That is where the government will go.
Though, it's like, if that's true, then how does Kelly Schubert know about it? How do I know?
There's signs.
Jesse Ventura told me.
There's no way.
There's
anything
signs
going on. I wouldn't know about.
There's signs in the Denver airport that's like people think that lizard people live below us.
Into it with y'all,
people believe it, and she should be allowed to have that.
I met and know a guy who's an extremely successful multi-millionaire businessman, owns several chains of delis. I'll just say that in Cleveland, and he is a firm, serious believer in the lizard people. Yes, very much so. There's an article in the Atlantic. Do me a favor, read this when we're off. It's called "What Americans Believe." It's in the Atlantic, and it breaks down all the different things that people believe in this country. And I think 12% of Americans think that a lot of human beings are inhabited by 50-foot lizard people that are just in our skin.
That's in the DIA airport. Someone's like, people think that lizard people, 50-foot lizard people live below it.
And this person I met truly believes that. And it's like, you think 12% is not a big deal. 12% of 320 million Americans is a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's millions of people walking around thinking that. So, I mean, I guess if you believe it.
Well, here's the problem. Peter's
fine.
Right. So Peter says, I think you got to go into any kind of conspiracy or theory with a grain of salt. The problem is when you don't have people that give it a grain of salt and they become furious. Remember, we always bring up Pizzagate. That came from Michael Flynn. Michael Flynn, the national security advisor to the president's son, tweeted that Hillary Clinton was having a pedophile ring out of a pizza place. So a guy with an AR-15 comes in, and then January 23rd, some guy lights up the curtains with lighter fluid and a lighter because they believe this is happening so much. So none of this is happening, by the way. It's my local pizza place, and we play ping pong, and that's about it. So it's interesting that this can lead to violence, and whose fault is the violence? Do you blame Michael Flynn's son? Does he get indicted in
like
that?
Alex Jones that was stirring the pot with the fake Sandy Hook, character actors, crisis actors, and then for those people after that, they were harassed by his viewers for years to the point where one woman went to jail. Which I couldn't be more happy about.
He'll be going to jail too, I think.
The concept of losing a child, for anybody that has a kid or does not have a kid, it's unconscionable.
So what makes Alex Jones to you allowed to be indicted but not someone else?
Well, I wouldn't say not someone else. I think that there needs to be some responsibility behind the words that you're saying. And when you are saying that there's a pedophile ring, however ridiculous that is, if I trusted you, like Alex Jones viewers trust him, and you say, Al, did you know that across the street at that Wendy's, they're selling human organs? And I'd be like, wow, well, Tori's never said anything crazy. Why don't I?
Right.
And then that's how things happen. That's how things end up getting raided, and then some employee gets 100%. Shot. It's all fine and in theory until something goes down.
So when is the line? When is it cross the line? If it's defamation, if it's actual malice?
When you are inciting people to act, I think that's where you start getting very iffy. And I mean, everything would have to be a case-by-case basis. But I really, truly believe that when you start telling people these people need to be brought to justice, when you start saying stuff like that, this needs to come to an end right now. I mean, we saw that lunatic that shot Gabby Giffords. Mm-hmm. We saw that lunatic that was sitting, that guy that was living in his van in Florida. There are people that are deranged, and it does not take much to push them over. And these people, know that. They know who their base is. They know who the people watching their videos are. They get these weird messages. And when you stoke those flames, once that fire comes pouring out, you do have a responsibility.
Well, so is Trump, or should Trump be allowed to say to media, you out there, is that too much, right? So should YouTube cut him off? Is that the punishment? Because it's really difficult to say whether you've gone too far. Now, the Supreme Court has a great line called clear and present
danger.
That's right. And that's actually a Supreme Court line and a great Harrison Ford movie. But it does mean when you say something and it's cite clear and present danger, if I say something and Alex is so insightful, I know that creates something as dangerous to me. You're not allowed to say that. Saying fire in a movie theater, that's going to cause panic when there isn't one. That's not allowed. You can't do that. So there is some interesting protected free speech that is out of the realm. So we want to know if you think this is one of them. And that is our fifth host. We are still investigating the Jussie Smollett case. I did want to give you guys an update. He did not meet with police yesterday, even though they have asked him. Good. And investigators are now looking into it. And Empire has slashed Jussie's role almost completely. We know that his part has been taken down a lot. Again, these are still allegations. We still need to wait for detectives to reveal the findings. But TMZ reports that scenes are now just being cut completely from Empire. And yesterday we heard from TMZ, from the police, that he rehearsed this attack with the two brothers and even scouted the location with the brothers and wanted to make sure his face was hurt, but not too bad. So everything from what we're seeing is not looking good for this young man. As Dr. Drew said on our show, if it's true, really something mentally ill with this person. We are hearing rumors that he did it because the letter with the white powder wasn't taken seriously enough that was sent to the cast of Empire. That's just a rumor that people are saying. We don't know why he did this. I can't imagine why he would do this. But Chicago takes this very seriously, and their tourism very seriously. And if there's a hate crime and that loses money for Chicago, this could be a big deal for this guy as a deterrent. He could be used as a big example.
He's convicted of filing a false police report, and he could get up to 3 years.
I could see him getting a lot worse than that. Yeah, I mean, you could also say wasting police time, obstruction of justice, lying to police. There's a lot of things you could add on that. So Kelly's right. It could be some years in jail there for Jussie. And you've lost the gay community and the black community. It's like, how do you get back? So I hope the young man is with someone. I do think he could be. This is dangerous for him, and he needs to be looked after because you could see him doing something drastic.
Very much so. And I just hope after all this, remember, tragedy plus time. You know, time does heal all wounds. Maybe in 5-10 years he can be an advocate for mental health because it seems to be something really wrong.
That's the way to go
with this young man because it's something no one would do, especially in the position that he was in.
Right.
It was completely unnecessary. So
no. Completely.
We wish him the best, but at the same time, this can't happen, man.
Yeah, and remember, trust those victims. I hate that this happened, and we still don't know. But remember, 3% or less people, or fewer people, are actually lying. So 97% of victims are telling the truth. So we believe at DBL, trust your victims, believe in your victims, please. Right. This case is ridiculous as XOOX. We agree. Let us know what you guys think, and we'll see you soon.